I'm Greg Gutfeld, now 4 pounds heavier. I ate a box of Pepperidge Farm stuffing alone in a closet, and I didn't even add water. Tonight, college students protesting over offensive language. Well, it beats studying, going to class, or looking for work. A new study says coffee's good for you. This after last month's study that said coffee's bad for you. Hey, coffee, make up your mind! And now you can pay a website to dump your mate for you. Coming soon, the website that will help you grow a spine. I've missed you, America. Let's get started. I'm making a collage out of discarded swim trunks.
This level of entitlement is stunning, isn't it?
I mean, he normally does pretty terribly.
But he just has such a rotten attitude.
That's a type of attitude you'd expect from a petulant 9-year-old. It's your fault.
Let's welcome tonight's guests. Well, he's a prog and a fog. It's Miles McInnes, brother of our friend Gavin McInnes, stay-at-home blogger. There he is. Well, she's so hot, the elderly mistake her for Florida. Eboni K. Williams, legal analyst and Fox News contributor. Well, he's tall and funny, like a redwood tree at open mic night. It's comedian Ben Kissel. Haven't you ever seen that before? Well, while her pals played spin the bottle, she preferred to empty one. Joanne Nosuchinsky. And if facts were rocks, she'd be Rocky. It's our op-ed, Katherine Timpf from National Review. And he's all bark and no bite, because it's made of wood. See that, liberal panel? There he is.
You're a monster, and this show is terrible.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right, let's talk about this. The First Amendment gives all Americans the right to free speech. For now, at least. But if campus protesters get their way, your right to free speech will be deader than Charlie Sheen's teeth. Today's students want safe spaces from words that are racist, sexist, xenophobic, ableist, and they want apologies for all the words that have been said in the past. They're also not a fan of a free press.
You need to get out. You need to get out.
No, I don't.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here.
So why is free speech under attack? I'd pose that question to campus protesters, but their answers might be so stupid, I'd throw up all over them. So I'm going to go to my panel first. Miles, good to see you. First, I want to ask you, do you feel safe here among the other panelists?
In the belly of the beast? Absolutely not. I'll be very impressed and surprised if I get out of here alive.
Really? Well, we invited you here because we wanted your opinions. Because we believe...
No, you invited me here so you could ridicule me and say things that are not nice, because that's what conservatives do. Faux news.
Faux news. All right, sir. Well, let me ask you how you feel about these students. Do you support these students in the right to limit expression?
That's a very interesting way of phrasing it. I support these students in their right not to be abused by speech. You know, it's all this screaming at them, insulting them, and yelling at them is the same as fire in a crowded theater. It's threatening to them, and it's illegal to have hate speech that threatens people. This sort of free speech that you're promoting is actually illegal.
It is illegal.
Yes.
I don't understand that.
Because you're threatening people. You're saying black lives don't matter. That's a threat to them.
I never said that.
Well, that's basically what you're saying when you're not letting us scream at people having brunch and scream at people in libraries.
So it's okay for you guys to scream, but I can't scream back?
We're screaming, help!
Wow.
We're not screaming, you're a jerk. Well, we're sort of screaming you're a jerk, but it's because you're hurting us. If you're getting punched, you might go, help, this is a jerk.
But so you're saying words were like fists?
Yes, words have power. Wake up, America.
Wow. No,
Say fire in a crowded theater and tell me words don't have power.
What if there is a fire?
There is a fire going on right now, and it's a war on the non-privileged.
Interesting. Eboni, how do you feel about Miles' take on all of this? You agree, disagree? Would you like him to be removed?
I think Miles is on fire. I want to say it's like radiating off me.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. No
That
worries.
wasn't my place.
No, you know what, Greg? I actually know a little bit about this. My alma mater has gone through something similar. Now, I think some of these kids are misguided. They're at free tuition. Come on, like, let's be serious. But I did go to class in a building named after the Grand Master of the KKK at UNC Chapel Hill. And the Board of Trustees...
Who was that?
William Saunders. Board of Trustees subsequently changed the name to Carolina Hall. Now all is good on campus. So I think it can be merit, it can be effective, but you need to be reasonable in your demands. That's my take.
You know, I'm still against them renaming that hall. That just angers me so much. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking, Eboni. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Come on now.
All right. Ben. All right. She makes a good point.
Right.
But a lot of these kids, they're just going crazy.
Well, let's. One of the things that's lost in this entire conversation about the college protesters is how much fun they're having.
Yeah.
This is just an activity. You get to go, mingle with one another. At the very least, they're in society. They're not hiding behind computers, interacting via email and Twitter. At least they're looking each other in the eye. But the problem I have is the motivation behind the protests. Woodrow Wilson, they want to take his paintings down. They want to whitewash his name and get rid of it, which is completely insane. For the reasons that they want to do it is completely insane. The man passed the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. The 17th Amendment, which was a huge immigration act that took away poll taxes and literacy tests. If anything, you want to protest Woodrow Wilson, do it because he created the Federal Reserve. That's a great reason to protest Woodrow Wilson.
There you go.
But not because he said a couple of dumb things to some drunk friends in the early 1900s.
Your Ron Paulism is coming out.
Yeah.
By the way, he gave women the right to vote?
Well, you know,
That's enough for me.
They didn't give women the right to vote. They accepted the right to vote that was already theirs.
I like this guy.
Well, you know what? Do you like her?
I do a lot, yes.
Oh, well, I think we've made a connection here.
Wow.
Maybe we can use one of those text messages later on the show to...
Yes.
In a totally egalitarian, non-racist, and non-gender-based way.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Joanne.
Yeah.
How will these kids get work? How does it prepare them for the outside world if they're scared of words?
It doesn't. Have you seen the movie Bubble Boy?
Yes, with John Travolta.
These kids are in a bubble, okay? And in the real world, there's germs.
Yes.
And if you leave college and you're suddenly out of your bubble and you've never been exposed to germs before, you're going to keel over on the floor. Some people might like that. I, for one, like to see everyone prosper. So it's really for these kids' own good if they, you know, are exposed to hearing the word no. No is not an offensive word, and
No,
they're
it's
pretending it is.
and you know, it's I feel the same way about safe spaces as I do about gun-free zones. What better place to go shoot up an area if it's other than there's no better place than a gun-free zone to bring a gun if you really want to make some carnage, and there's no better place to be guaranteed victory in a intellectual debate than a safe space because they're not armed with enough thought to actually you know, express their opinions rationally.
What's wrong? Wait, what?
Shut up!
This is what I'm
I
talking
was
about.
not told that we're going to be banding around the word no, and there's going to be gun-free zone talk and all kinds of ear abuse. Shut up!
What's your solution then?
I would like to go to a separate room right now.
We have a place for you if you'd like to go there.
I need a little timeout. I didn't know this was going to be so intense.
I know. Well, you know what? With this, maybe you'll grow from this.
I'm already going backwards. I feel like I'm stunting. It's like Benjamin Buttons is happening in my spine.
All right, I want to ask Kat about the situation at Amherst. The students are demanding that the president pay attention to their marginalized views. Is the chancellor some old white guy ignoring them?
All right, two things. First of all, Jake Gyllenhaal was in Bubble Boy, not John Travolta.
Whoa. Young lady, the original Bubble Boy, boy in the plastic bubble, was John Travolta.
No. And,
Yes!
Second
You
of
cannot
all,
correct me on this, young lady.
The Amherst chancellor is actually a she and a lesbian.
Oh, I had no idea.
A lesbian she named
Thank God.
Carol Arthur Biddy Martin, Carolyn Arthur, and she wrote a piece called Sexualities Without Genders and Other Queer Utopias. So it sounds like she's not a conservative old white man.
Well, that indeed. Let's go to the liberal panel. Don't you bear some responsibility for all of this? You and your wimpy ideas and your destruction of traditional values.
And our commitment to education and new ideas and then expanding people's minds.
Yes, which now you're arguing against.
No, I'm not. Well, first of all, let me just say I like Miles.
Yeah, of course you do.
I like him more than his brother.
Oh, yes.
His brother's mean.
Yeah, his brother is mean.
But look, I'm just sitting back here listening to you guys talk about college students like they're America's ISIS.
Well, you know
It's
what?
really interesting and terrifying.
You know what I think we should do?
No, tell me, Greg Gutfeld of the Greg Gutfeld Show, tell me.
Princeton is named after an English king who massacred Irish Catholics and ruled over a slave trading nation. Isn't it time to change the name
Princeton,
rename it Community College of North Central New Jersey?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Did he have slaves?
I'm assuming he did. I know.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's terrible.
I mean, it is. It's an interesting point, though, right? I mean, because we can't erase our history, right? We can't rewrite what has already been done. I do think there's just an effort, some people are saying, to put a spotlight on living in a more truth, because we don't love America because she's perfect.
You're right.
We love her in spite of her imperfections.
She has a gender?
She does, Joe.
I mean, looking at Florida, I would think it was a guy. But it's unbelievable. Princeton and Yale. Now, all of a sudden, these white elitist liberals, we're supposed to have sympathy for them. They are the people that Occupy was against, theoretically.
They are
State
privileged.
school, for crying out loud. I have no sympathy for
They hate
anyone.
themselves. They're so privileged, they hate themselves.
That's how privileged they are. They have the privilege to even hate themselves.
I think ultimately the absurdity, it's always going to be the loudest voice that get the most attention. And that's what's happening here, I believe. Didn't I round it up nicely? No. Are you okay, Miles?
This is insane. Fox News is way worse than I could have ever imagined.
Well, we'll welcome you always back because we're interested in your opinion.
I can't come back. I'm not going to get out of here alive.
No, actually, we have a car to pick you up to take you home.
Yeah, good
We have a
luck.
car service and everything.
Yeah, sure you do.
Did you enjoy the foods in the green room?
I did have a little nibble, yes.
And weren't the producers and everybody here really nice to you?
They acted nice on the outside, yeah.
Yeah.
But deep down, I could smell the resentment.
No, actually, they were...
It's systemic, Greg.
No,
okay, it's institutionalized.
Really?
When people are friendly and in faux news, you can just... It's like a gas that seeps around, like a weapon of mass destruction.
Everybody seemed pretty polite to you. I don't know.
Oh, see, you're falling for it, too.
All right. Before we go to break, I want to show you a highly disturbing video. You see, unbeknownst to me, before the last debate, our very own Joanne Nosuchinsky and Katherine Timpf did something really special. They actually auditioned to become debate moderators, and it was pretty disturbing.
You don't have to show this if you don't want to.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think we're out of time.
Yeah,
No.
We're out of time.
right?
We have plenty of time.
No
and
time.
it's my show, so let's roll it, Cletus.
Moderator auditions, take one.
Where's the couch? In all my other castings, it's just here.
Why don't we just start with some simple opening banter?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
How would that go?
We're great at that.
We're really
okay. Wisconsin!
Wisconsin, cheeseheads, cheese.
That's right.
And, you know, with wine.
Yes.
With everything,
Yes,
not just
with
cheese.
wine.
You can have wine with anything,
You know,
really.
wine
with
comes
wine.
in all shapes and boxes.
Boxes
even.
are a different shape, yeah.
Why don't we get an idea of what questions you would ask the candidates?
Marco Rubio, you've talked a lot about your childhood and upbringing and your family, so I have a related question. How were you able to handle your last name rhyming with Bubio? Right?
Wow. Nailed it. Why don't you toss over to Jesse Waters as if he were reporting?
Oh, no, I'll toss to anyone, not Jesse Waters.
Jesse Waters.
No.
No.
No, we won't.
How about a polite laugh? All right. Honestly. Why don't you show me how you would toss to a commercial break?
Oh, okay.
Action.
Great. And now a commercial break.
This
A
camera,
short break. Right?
right
After a short break.
in front of you.
We'll be right back after this commercial
Okay,
break.
let's go. How about some good listening faces? Maybe give that a shot. That's it? Oh, I mean,
Okay, well, thank you for agreeing to
Let's talk
help.
later when you're ready. And
Okay, yeah, we'll wait for
We'll
your
wait.
call.
We'll be right here. I'll be waiting.
know the value of this time when
Text.
you can't find the camera.
The camera. There.
It's okay.
Find the camera.
The commercial break.
Wow. Well, Hammer's a total pro. Coming up, our Agreeable Correspondent. But first, Elf on a Shelf. Evil tool of Satan or an evil tool of Satan? Yeah, I realize what I did there. Should he give less hugs and call out ISIS thugs? I speak of a young Muslim man who blindfolded himself and stood in the middle of a Paris plaza in front of a note that read, quote, "I'm a Muslim and I'm told I'm a terrorist. I trust you. Do you trust me? If yes, hug me." No surprise, everyone loves it. Let's discuss this with our panel, which has a new addition and a subtraction. Joining us is a man so sharp his head could be used to carve a holiday ham. It's Bret Stephens, the Wall Street Journal's foreign affairs columnist and the deputy editorial page director. He's the author of the great book, America in Retreat, which I had until it fell off my ledge in my apartment, 12 stories into a crowd. And I'm not going to say where, but I was terrified for literally hours thinking that I might have injured somebody. But lo and behold, I found the book and everything's fine. Brett.
Yes.
I look at this, and I know that we're supposed to love this stuff because it's got really nice music and people are hugging. But I feel like we're being subliminally told to police our feelings of rage. That we're told that this is how the only feeling we must have is love. We cannot be angry.
Look, what bothers me about it is really two things. Number one, it's dishonest. Every single Western leader has gone out of his way not only to say that Muslims aren't terrorists, not the majority of Muslims, but even to say that Islam has nothing to do with terrorism, which takes it a step maybe too far. But more importantly, instead of asking to be hugged, what I would ask him is to lead a million-man march in Paris to say these jihadists do not represent us. Yeah. If we hear them in our mosques, we're going to call them out. If we see them in our streets, we're going to report them to the police because this should not be in our name. So instead of asking for sympathy, he should be joining those of us who feel outraged by the massacre of innocent people in Paris.
Your book kind of predicts this. The abdication of responsibility of America leads to things like this, a growth of extremist groups.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the subtitle is The Coming Global Disorder. I wrote that in 2012, or I started the book back then when the president was saying that we were entering into a new world in which the tide of war was receding and Al-Qaeda was on a path to defeat. But the problem you have is that when you have the world's only superpower deciding to retreat from its responsibilities, you create power vacuums, those vacuums get filled. So, those vacuums are filled. So it's like, you know, Rick Moranis, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes.
Well, that's President Obama. He shrunk the superpower, and the result is all of a sudden every fly is going to eat you alive.
Yeah, and when you shrink, you can get swallowed up by the power vacuum.
That's right.
When the cleaning lady comes. Ben, you look like you need to tell me something important.
I always need to be talking. But to your point, September 17, 2001, go back and watch W. Bush's speech when he addresses Muslims across the world. It's one of the better speeches that he gave. What's worse than a member of ISIS? What's worse than a terrorist? A street performer. I can't deal with this guy. And also, it's so selfish. Okay, you're not a terrorist. Wonderful. But you know what? Al-Qaeda is in a mall right now in Mali.
True.
So that's really what we have to be concerned about. We can hug all day long, but this guy is... he is using the terror attacks in Paris for his own self-promotion, and I think it's mildly offensive.
God, no. I really don't get, seriously, I don't get that he's, wait, what's going on here? I don't get at all that this guy is looking for sympathy. I think that's one way to see it, but the way I see it is maybe he's trying to put people on notice that, look, like, you don't have to necessarily be afraid of me. I think a lot of Muslims that I know are condemning this behavior outright. Yes, I agree. Western leadership has come out and said time and time again they don't believe that all Muslims by any stretch are indicating of this. But if we want to cut back on incentive to be recruited by some of these extremist groups, I think that's a good place to start, is to be accepting and to understand that we don't have to alienate and marginalize
We haven't
people.
alienated
but
them.
some people, but they might feel that way, Greg.
I don't care how they feel anymore, Eboni. I don't care about their feelings.
But there's an issue of personal responsibility. I mean, the other day I'm walking through New York City, and just out of the blue, I walk into a pro-Palestinian protest. This is a few days after the attacks in Paris, and I'm like, this is not what they should be doing. They should be saying, they should be gathering huge marches and saying, what's happening in Syria, that's not us. We condemn Assad. We condemn ISIS. If it's true, and I accept that the vast majority of Muslims are peaceful, want nothing to do with terrorist groups, go out and say, this is not us, this doesn't represent us, and we are going to call you out every time we can. Because the reality, I lived in Brussels. I lived near the neighborhood where these guys came from. You jogged through that neighborhood and you thought, bad things are going to come out of here. There were imams preaching anti-Semitism, hatred of the West, support of terrorism. They weren't stopped. They weren't checked by their own community. So there's an issue of community responsibility to say, hey, we're going to do something different. We're not just going to ask for your sympathy and plead a sacred note.
But we have to be careful. You can go.
Well, I was going to say this, and I can appreciate that point. I really can. But that becomes a full-time job in some circumstances, where just because I happen to be, I don't know, a black person in America. And
Wait, are you?
Yes.
Oh, I had no idea.
Really, the Eboni thing should have been a tip, though. Okay? But here's the thing. Every time a black person in America does something outrageous, which happens, okay, a lot. I mean, you know, we all, it's a huge thing.
That Martin Lawrence character, especially, I love him.
Yeah, so what? I'm now accountable to go out and condemn every bad behavior from every black person. That's ridiculous. I mean, I just really don't think that's realistic.
But compassion doesn't cure ills.
No.
So if terrorists are a bacterial infection, hugs won't get rid of them. Antibiotics do. So this kind of behavior, this kind of grand gesture, while it's well-intentioned, it won't actually, I think, help these communities that we're talking about.
But you're against hugging. Kat, are there any benefits from hugging?
Yeah, it actually lowers your blood pressure.
Oh, really?
Yes, it does, but it doesn't have the same effect hugging random strangers as it does hugging someone you're in love with. So to get maximum benefits, you'd have to fall in love with this kid first.
Well, I would never hug the liberal panel because I just get splinters.
If I could shake my head.
Yes, you
but
can.
I am a wall.
You are a wall. You're a wall of ignorance.
You know, I'd love to see a video where a blindfolded Christian insists that he's not a member of Westboro Baptist, because all Christians are members of Westboro Baptist, right?
All right.
The way all Catholics are pedophiles, right?
And Westboro Baptist
Do you get my
beheads
point?
people, and Westboro Baptist beheads people. Christian extremists are not like radical Islamists.
Look,
they're not
that's not the point I made.
Why am I yelling at you? You're nothing but a piece of wood.
Haunted.
Yeah. I gotta calm down. I gotta go. Still ahead, LAX builds a private terminal exclusively for people like me, celebrities. How much do I tip the bathroom attendant, I'm wondering? Time for No Right Answer. It's the debate that doesn't solve anything, but we're going to do it anyway, because that's who we are. L.A. International Airport, or as I like to call it, L.A. International Airport, has approved the construction of a private terminal just for celebrities. Officials say it'll allow actors, athletes, and diplomats to avoid paparazzi by allowing cars to drop off guests behind closed doors. It'll cost about $1,800 a drop in the bucket to use the new terminal, which will include private lounges, catering, separate security points, and nude full-body rubdowns from the cast of Full House.
Oh, wow.
I know.
They're still working.
I know. Joanne, one day you will be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Not yet. Are you looking forward to being able to look down on everybody else from here?
I look forward to being in my private jet and looking down on all of the small people waiting at the airport. Yeah, why are you still flying commercial? I don't understand that. But yeah, if they want to pay that extra money, I guess good for you. Go for it. I do believe when I'm a celebrity, I'm still going to be very frugal. I'm going to be like, I don't want to pay. This isn't worth it.
I like how you do assume you will be a celebrity.
No, I do. That's just like a given.
Kissel, do you hate this until you're in it?
Well, I'm a man of the people. Like Teddy Roosevelt took the train, I'll always take economy planes. That's what I do. Represent the common man.
You're very tall.
I think it's funny, though. Celebrities, actors, and diplomats is like John Bolton having a like, who's stalking the diplomats? I've never seen a diplomat on TMZ.
He's got a mustache fan club that just want to get close to that bush.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, there's no doubt about that.
Yes.
But I actually think it's interesting. It is a statement of modern society. Everybody has their iPhones. Everybody is an reporter for these poor celebrities who I truly do believe are stalked in many situations, and their children are being photographed in utero. I think there's a problem in the culture, so it's needed.
What's the poor celebrities, the poor us who have to be near the celebrities when they fly commercial, and then you have to say, oh dear, that's so-and-so, and I have to be within 50 feet of that.
If you see, that's celebrity-ist of you.
It's very celebrity.
It's celebrity-ist.
But look, it's also, anyone can do it if you're willing to pony up $1,800. Well, not anybody, but if you have $1,800 to do it, go ahead and do it. It's a pricing mechanism. You don't want to stand, you want to get in the quick line, get a first class.
I'll pay for anything like that.
Yeah, I was in LA for 5 years, and so I have been firsthand to the absolute annoying commotion of these celebrity sightings, and everybody's taking out their iPhone. To his point, I think it's so annoying. I agree with Joe. If you're going to ball all the way out, go private jet. You know what I mean? Like, don't be cheap about it. But they do use a lot of resources. You know, TSA and airport security have to, you know, that's resources spent on these stupid celebrity sightings. So if we can thwart that, then I guess it has a purpose.
You know what I love about this? It exposes the internal contradictions of humanity. We talk about equality while we continue to pay for artificial classist change. Like in a plane, it's first class, it's coach, but in coach you can pay for other things that make you better than the person next to you.
Right.
I have a left-wing friend who refers to the main cabin as steerage. You know, it's like the people, no matter what, want to be separated from other people.
Right. Inequality only bothers you until you become part of the unequal part of society.
Then it's awesome. Kat, do you have any facts to back up anything that you have to say right now?
Sure, there's a lot of benefits to this terminal that you didn't talk about.
Like what?
You have to take many fewer steps. You only have to take, they're guaranteeing you only have to take about 60 steps during your travels, whereas normally you'd have to take about 2,200 steps.
Wow.
Taking steps is such a burden.
It really is.
Walking, it's for peasants.
Hey, liberal panel, how do you travel?
I mean, but this celebrity lounge, can you imagine the cocaine?
Yeah.
And the sodomy?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
I am here every day, every night. My soul is trapped in this wall.
That is true, and I'm glad. All right, they'll ditch your ex with a text. A new website called The Breakup Shop will help you end your relationship for you for a small fee, again. Options range from a $10 breakup email to an $80 breakup gift pack, which contains cookies, wine glasses, Netflix gift cards, and a DVD of The Notebook. I already own that. Two Canadian brothers who founded the site, of course they were, argue that if there's sites to help you get into a relationship, it makes sense to have one that gets you out of them. Joanne, have you used this service yet?
No. Unfortunately, I do like the awkward way, and I make a phone call or I do the face-to-face. The face-to-face is the worst. But I do think that anyone who is using this site should not be in a relationship in the first place, so it's probably all for the best that this does exist. It weeds them out.
That's the problem, Ebony. Don't you have to learn how to give bad news? That's part of being an adult, so you can take bad news.
Yeah, I'm super guilty of like not wanting to do this, and you know, I've recently learned that you just got to do it. You have to do it. You have to pick up the phone. You have to at least give a call and say the thing that nobody wants to hear. This just isn't working.
Working, Lou Dobbs.
And it
Isn't working, Lou Dobbs.
You're a mess. But no. It really it sucks. You know, I hate doing it, and I you know, I'm never at a loss for words. I can be very direct, but the breakup thing is hard to do. But this is for complete losers and suckers.
I think they need to sort of extend the brand. There's so many opportunities here.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the political breakup? If Democrats only had this tool with the Clintons,
yes,
we would be free and clear. Joe Biden would be running for president. Like, it would be a totally different situation. But I think Democrats just didn't have the words to tell Hillary that you're corrupt and we dislike you.
You could say that, too, about the Republican Party as well and some candidates. There are 13 of them now, 15 of them. I mean,
Chris Christie would love the cookies. That's for sure. I guess everyone's coming out against it, so I'll be for it. At the very least, if you get a breakup email, somebody paid $10 to send you, you know for a fact that you don't want to be with that toad anyway.
Or that they think you're worth $10.
Yeah, that's kind of nice to actually spend money to break up with somebody is almost more of a kind gesture than doing
$10 breakup package.
I'm a $60 breakup person.
You know, it's funny, though, Kat, if this actually is successful, it'll be another outsourced service, probably handled in a call center in India.
I don't know about that. I don't think they've made that many calls so far. Within the first week, it was only about 3 calls and 6 text messages.
Really?
So I have a little bit of faith in humanity.
Do it the old-fashioned way. I say, if you're going to break up with somebody, you simply move. Just leave town.
Good idea.
And then if they ever find you, just hide. I hide a lot. I've hid. You think I'm kidding, but I have hidden.
I'm too big to hide.
I'm small. I can hide under anything.
That's your height privilege.
I have a white height privilege. All right, coming up. As new home construction falls, will there be a supply problem in terms of labor and land in the housing market? Rather than just weak demand and a lack of available credit? We're not doing that story. Instead, who's People Magazine's pick for sexiest man alive? All I know is I'm going to be ticked if Lou Dobbs gets snubbed again. Poor Dobbs. Time for a news roundup. Stories you need to know, because I said so. California woman, they have them there, is suing smart TV maker Vizio for secretly tracking what she watches and then sharing it with advertisers without her consent. This after the company admitted it had been collecting data on more than 10 million TVs it sold. Joining me to discuss this and other important stories is our Agreeable correspondent, Jerry Carbondale. Jerry, what do you make of this lawsuit?
Well, I think it's justified. This is like something out of 1984 with Big Brother watching us. This used to be our nightmare, but now it's come true. It's terrible.
But, Jerry, users can simply turn off the set that collects the data, so isn't it up to the consumer to protect themselves?
Yes, it's personal responsibility. We have responsibility over our devices. We've got to look and see, check our passwords, things like that, so it really is up to the consumer.
But if they sell my data, isn't it nice to get an advertisement tailored just for you?
Yes, that is the great thing about advertising. It is really about making informed choices.
Wow, still feels like an invasion of my privacy.
It definitely is, and we have to watch out for it.
All right, next topic. Back again this holiday season as the tradition based on a 2005 children's book, Elf on a Shelf. The idea is that a special scout sent from the North Pole reports back to Santa whether children have been naughty or nice, and you put it up on your shelf. So, Jerry, how do you feel about this tradition?
It's great, Greg. You know, one of the great things about the holidays is sharing annual traditions with your family, and this is just that. He's up there on the shelf every year.
I don't know. Won't this make kids paranoid that they're being watched? That can't be good.
The problem is adults are being watched, and now our kids are as well. I think it's terrible.
Yeah, but won't kids be well behaved now and gives parents a break?
That's right, Greg. You know, as a parent, one of the things that is so scarce around the holidays is time. And if your kids behave, that's going to give the parents more time, so I think it's a good thing.
I still think it's pretty creepy and it should be banned.
Well, I think it is creepy, and I agree with you. It probably should be banned.
Okay. Interesting. Next story, a new study finds that moderate coffee drinking may lower your risk for heart disease. Jerry, is this a good thing?
Well, Greg, it's great to get good news about health for a change. People like to get that fix, the cup of joe, and now it's good for you so they can go ahead and sip to their heart's content.
But previous studies say it increases your stress levels because all the caffeine.
Stress is a big killer in America. I think people should switch to decaf.
But then again, it tastes so good and the caffeine makes you up, so that's got to relieve stress.
You know, we worry too much about things, Greg. We're always worrying about our health. I say go out there, enjoy your cup of coffee.
Even if it's deadly?
Well, Greg, you know, that's a good question. Maybe not.
Yeah, okay. Last story. People magazine recently crowned David Beckham the sexiest man alive. Jerry, do you agree with this choice, or should it have been John Hamm?
John Hamm, Greg. John Hamm looks good in any era, the 50s, 60s, the 70s, and the modern era, and he's a feminist.
But wouldn't you want to take a bubble bath with Beckham if given the opportunity?
You're asking me if I would like to take a bubble bath with David Beckham, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, I would, Greg.
Okay. But then again, that would hurt John Hamm's feelings.
Yes, it would, Greg. And he's a man that has feelings, which is why he probably should have been the sexiest man alive.
But wouldn't it be better to have a bubble bath with both?
You're asking me if I would like to take a bubble bath with both men?
Yes.
Yes, I would, Greg.
All right. Well, I think we finally agree on something.
Greg, I think we do.
Okay, don't go anywhere. We've got some of the most offensive commercials you'll ever see in your life. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Tonight's show is sponsored by a baby sloth. It's the younger version of those medium-sized mammals living in the jungles of Central and South America. Thanks, baby sloth.
Well, she's been watching thousands of hours of disturbing commercials, so you don't have to. Yes, our very own Katherine Timpf is back with another edition of...
Thank you, Greg. I think you'll all recognize this first one.
Create your own one-of-a-kind ring and receive Get Set in Diamonds rewards. Up to $1,000 toward a beautiful setting when you buy your diamond at Jared. The one ring that's unlike any other is waiting for you this weekend only at Jared.
He went to Jared. He went to Jared. What kind of patriarchal and heteronormative BS is that? Right? Women can't propose to men. Women can't propose to women, apparently, Jared. Am I not welcome at Jared?
I think it's offensive that you would buy a diamond from the guy from Subway.
Well, there's more than one person named Jared.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that later.
All right.
First, we'll look at this next one from Humera.
This is a body of proof.
proof of less joint pain.
My body of proof that I can fight psoriatic arthritis.
With Humira. Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Want more proof? Ask your rheumatologist about Humira. Humira. This is my body of proof.
Why are none of those people overweight? Don't you know that every ad needs to have at least one fat person in it? It has no overweight people, and it's talking about body. Since it uses the word body, it has to have a fat person. Plenty of overweight people, big fat people, brave enough to be on television even though they're so big and fat. We need to celebrate them.
Well, that was incredibly sensitive of you, Catherine.
Yeah,
they're called. They're not called fat. They're overweight.
They're fat.
All right.
They're overweight with fat, and they should be celebrated for being brave enough to be on TV.
Okay.
Shame on you, Humira, for not giving them the chance.
All right, next thing.
All right, yeah, the next one is from Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just offensive, it is irresponsible. Did you know that according to balloonsblow.org, the amount of balloons and balloon pieces found on beaches has tripled in the past 10 years? This kills wildlife. This is serious. We need to be outraged about the mass killings committed by balloon pieces worldwide, and here Coca-Cola is making light of it. Why don't they just change their slogan to Coca-Cola, kill all the birds?
Yeah, and also, I mean, those balloons could fly into airspace and confuse pilots.
Yeah, a lot of death because of that commercial.
Absolutely.
Really sick. Mm-hmm. The last one is the most shared ad of all time, and it's also the most offensive. It's for Google Android.
Contemplating nothing but escape and finally making it. Oodle-lolly, golly, what a day.
Tigers and bears. What's missing here, Greg? Lions. You know who should have been in that commercial? Cecil the lion. But he couldn't be because he's dead. This is hurtful to Cecil's memory.
Catherine, you're not supposed to talk about Cecil the lion like that. That's offensive.
Exactly.
Well, that was very enlightening, as always. Thank you, Catherine. Don't go anywhere. My 4-point plan on how to defeat ISIS is next. Yeah. Finally, tonight, I wrote this a few weeks ago. It's my thoughts on how we can defeat ISIS. You see, the weekend after the Paris attacks, we didn't air due to breaking news coverage. But I did share some ideas in a video, which we posted online. It generated over 1 million hits on Facebook alone. Thanks to all those who checked it out. But in case you missed it, here it is. This Paris terror attack reveals a truth many have known, but our leaders have refused to admit. We're at war. Instead, we watch those elected to protect us transfixed by identity politics, fear of Islamophobia, and micro-fractional upticks in Celsius. As I've said before, it's not a wake-up call if you go back to bed. It's not enough for temporary platitudes or putting John Lennon's Imagine on repeat. It's a war that wants us. We no longer have the choice of talking our way out of it like a fearful hostage in a bank heist. We need 4 things. First, a leader, one who understands the threat, is happy to state its name, and ready to commit to its end. This is someone who understands the adult conclusions that steer national security and surveillance. Someone who knows that freedom and security coexist, not clash. This leader must have no truck with Edward Snowden unless he's tied up in the back of it. This is a leader who knows that terror change, the increase in mayhem when wed to technology, trumps climate change, and this urgent global consensus devoted to warming must instead be focused on terror. To track evil, we need coordination, borders, intel sharing, and leadership that moves the world. 2, a people. We need a country who pulls itself out of its self-obsession, its politics of me. We need a unified citizenry, one that realizes the pleasant world they've grown used to denigrating is about to come to an end, unless they act. 3, a media, a sober-minded industry whose priorities are based on authentic, not symbolic concerns. Enough solemn portraits of co-eds weeping over words. Imagine if, during World War II, instead of covering Hitler, you focused solely on the peekaboo bangs of Veronica Lake. That's you, as you amplify campus crybabies over Islamic terror. 4, a defense, not just a national one that goes without saying, or gun ownership, which also goes without saying. I mean education that teaches the self-defense needed when terror or mass shootings strike. We must make our soft targets harder through security, barriers, and mentality. I say this not to judge others' reactions to attack, but regarding my own need to change my own behavior. As a citizen, I have to play a role in knowing how to stop something awful. The cops can't be everywhere. SWAT teams and military burst into buildings knowing one of their own might die. The passengers on Flight 93 did the same. They did it because they knew it was their only choice. It's time we accept that choice as a country, because it's the only one we have left. That's our show for tonight. Thanks to Bret Stephens, Eboni Williams, Ben Kissel, Miles McInnes, Jerry Carbondale, Joanne, Katherine, and the liberal panel. Boo. I'm Greg Gutfeld, and I love you, America.